Hey there, YouTubes. This is Grimweird coming back at you with more MC Eternal Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. As always, we got tons of things we'd like to get done, and we're just going to have to prioritize. So one thing I was excited about was getting some ectoplasm from the random things spirits. Those are those little blue cubes that sometimes appear after things die. And take magic to harm them. And that allowed me to make some specter saplings by clicking a sapling or planting a sapling and then clicking ectoplasm on it. Unfortunately, I realized I missed the point that in this mod pack, breaking specter leaves only gives you more specter saplings. It does not give you ectoplasm. So that from Project Ozone 3 Kappa, you could put these bad boys in a hopping bonsai, and they would drop both wood, leaves, ectoplasm, and I think something else. So it doesn't look like we have a good way to get lots of ectoplasm in this pack for making the random things stuff. So if we wanted to make a bunch of these things, really all I need is 4 of these things we'll need. I'd sort of like to have 4 of these things to line up the 4 chunks of my main base, which means 16 ectoplasm. So we'll just keep a wand on us so that we have a magic way to kill spirits when they pop up. You can also use splash potions and other things. And we'll just try and collect them the slow, hard way through looting. So with going to the Nether and with having the mob farm up and going full blast now, and with exploring and getting into Electroblob's stuff, we've seen over the last couple episodes an explosion in the variety of crap that I have accumulated, and we've now reached a tipping point where if I don't have some sort of better inventory system, I'm going to lose my mind. Everything was cool up until the mob farm, and as soon as we started branching out into different packs like Electroblobs or going into Nethers or starting to build stuff and gadgets and machines and whatnot, things just got real hairy real quick. So what do we need? First, we need a way to get power to an Emmy system. So the first thing I did was get into Flux Networks. So Flux Networks is super cheap. Well, compared to what I'm used to in expert mod packs. So what you do is you make some flux by dropping obsidian on some redstone, and then you make these little flux cores, which are your sort of base building stock. Each 4 of them require an ender eye, so you're going to want a ender pearl farm of some sort, and some blaze powder, preferably a blaze farm of some sort, to get into lots of this stuff. But then you make essentially flux plugs for adding energy to the flux network. So a flux network is sort of an energy cloud, you can think of it. It's not stored like in a physical battery, it's just in the ether, if you will. So you this cloud of energy, you have a plug to add to it, and then points to remove from it, and then a controller to manage it, and do wireless charging. So I went ahead and made some of this stuff. Let's, since the making of flux is a little strange, let's just show you how I did that real quick. If we head down to bedrock. So basically the idea is you're going to take your obsidian. Let's find a good spot to do this. I think this is where I did it last time and it worked fine. So you're going to put, you're going to have bedrock and then air and then one of these. And then you're going to, this will do as many redstone as you want at a time. So boom, I throw 4 redstone on there, and now I left click on the obsidian and it drops and boom, the redstone turns into flux. And then this is pretty straightforward. You need a decent amount of obsidian. So we've got plenty of obsidian, largely from all of this vein mining I've done. I've got obsidian all over the place. I can vein mine from capping the little lava lakes to keep the flame launcher, flame spewer, little lava octopi from shooting at me. So anyway, we've got that. Let's take a look at what the network does, or what we've got going on. So we've got it set up over here. So this is my Flux controller. This is your home. And these are the network selections. You can have just one network for yourself and put all your power into it and take all your power out of it. I sort of like to have two networks just because I like to have some sort of big physical battery storage interfacing incoming power and outgoing power. Just so I don't know, it just makes me more comfortable. And in most of the mod packs I've played, getting lots and lots of flux storage, it's easier to do that with some sort of big mechanism, induction matrix, or something like that than it is to use the flux storage that is in Flux Networks. So I usually make two, one for power going in and one for power going out. So for store it, if we take a look at this guy, what do we want to know about this? Well, basically, let's take a look at just how it's working. So this is now simplified. I no longer have wires going upstairs. So all of the power from all of these thermoelectric generators is going into this flux plug. And as we've said, plugs put power into a network. So this is putting power. You can see that it is in the store it. And it's got a buffer, a little bit of buffer. It's got a transfer limit. You can turn on chunk loading, which is pretty cool for each of these. You can disable the limit if you want to just pull limitless power, or you can change the limit. There's all sorts of fun stuff you can do. You can look at statistics for the store it stuff. Basically, you can do pretty much all of the same stuff you do at a controller at each individual plug. But so the plug is taking all of this power from generating from this and putting into the store it cloud, if you will. So then what am I doing with the power that's going into the store it cloud? This is a flux point, which takes power out of store it and puts it into my energy cell, which has 54 million RF. So it's not doing anything right at the moment because we're capped up on power. We're not using a lot of power right now. So now we've got a second network called Spend It. So this is another cloud of RF. And so we need to put power into Spend It. So here we have a plug. So this flux plug is taking power out of the energy cell and putting it into Spend It. So now we've got a bunch of RF available, this 54 million available in a Spend It cloud. And so now what I'm going to do is all throughout my base, wherever I need power, I can take power out of the Spend It cloud, which is coming from here, and go into stuff. So here you can see I've got a flux point sending power into there. I can have a flux point here that is sending power into any of this. I can have a flux point in another dimension. This works across dimensions. So basically, everywhere I want power, I just slap down a flux point and away I go. Now the flux points, they do use up a decent amount of obsidian mostly. So until I have a material stoneworks, I'm not going to make plugs for days. So for instance, I can replace all of this wiring with one of these on each and every one of those. But I don't want to make 50 of these because that's going to be stacks and stacks and stacks of obsidian. All right, so that's Flux Networks. So we now have wireless power everywhere we want to go. That is fantastic. And it was relatively straightforward on this mod pack with these recipe settings, so that was pretty cool. And so now I can carry around, well, I will carry around flux points. So I'll just carry around a stack of these. Oh, here's another thing I could mention. When I put it on here and select a network for it, it turns red because that's what I've color coded. If we go to store it, when I created a network, so if I go here to create a new one, I can encrypt it or not. I'm single player, so I took it off of encrypted. And I can pick a color to do that, and I can name it like store it or spend it, etc. And I spend a color. Green is good because that's power coming in. Red is bad because that's power I'm spending and never getting back. So that's the way I do my color coding, just to keep things straight for me. But when I break this and take it off, it'll be red. If I ever want to just like make it white again so that it stacks, I can do that. So sometimes I'll have like green ones and white ones and red ones all in my inventory. And if you ever want to unnetwork select one, you can just throw it up here to erase the network. All right, I think that's about all to say about that. So, I haven't made a ton of this stuff yet, but you can see I've got the 3 of these necessary to deploy power wherever I need. Let's say I want to set up a mechanism digital miner in the beneath. Boom, slap one of these on it, and I've got access, wireless access to all the power in here. All right, enough said. So what next? We've got power, so that's good. We've got power and we've got a way to transport power, which is 2 separate things, and we've got both, and that's good. So the Aes system. So one mistake I made, and I want to point it out, is that when you start going into this stuff, it's good to unlock things. So if you come here in the advanced science, it's good to I never make a meteorite compass, because let's face it, those Applied Energistics meteorites are not particularly hard to find in most mod packs. It's like, hey, there's one. All you got to do is fly around a bit, and I've actually broken some up a bit. So, but there's another one. They're just not that hard to find, I don't think. There's one. So unless you're trying to find something underground, I wouldn't worry about it. But you actually need to do it to unlock the stuff here. So if you want to get your fat loots, your spending coins, make one of these first, and then you'll have to have other stuff here. So I didn't do that, so I had to go back and make one of these and then get everything back in my inventory. I should pick up my energy acceptor to get credit for it. Alright, so anyway, you get the point. So, market, I don't have one of those yet, and I will eventually want one. So one problem is I did make 5 inscribers, because I like to have one for each of the functions here, but I've already turned them into advanced inscribers, so I'm not going to get credit for those. So I'll have to make another one when I get around to it, if I want to unlock that. Damn lousy spiders are making a noise up there. So what else? Again, there's tons of things I want to do, but I've got to have an inventory system because it's driving me mad. So I've made sort of the basics. I had already gotten all of these from... Alright, I can't stand those spiders. Hold on, I'm going to go kill them. Okay, spider racket has been dealt with. Let's see. So the main things we're going to need are... We need... Let's see. So the energy acceptor, Applied Energistics 2 has its own power supply. So you need these to act as a converter from RF or forge energy or whatever RF equivalent you are using into applied energistic energy. So you need one of these to power your junk. So I also, you can make crystals. You can both make crystals and purify and grow crystals by dropping them into puddles. I can't stand that mess. So fortunately AE2 stuff is in this pack, which gives us a crystal growth chamber, which makes things easier. So this will allow us to combine charged Certus quartz and nether quartz and redstone to form Flux crystals, which we need for crafting all this junk. And this will also allow us to put like seeds in there to grow them into pure versions of some of the crystals. And it'll take acceptors or upgrades that make that faster. And then another AE2 stuff. So the normal way to do to make the various circuits. So if we go at Applied Circuits, so these guys, which then get turned into these guys. The normal way to do those is through, or the Applied Energistics way to do that is through the Inscriber. The Inscriber is a pain in the butt because it'll only accept one item at a time. It won't accept stacks. And it's really difficult to automate because it's very sided. So everything has to go into a particular side and out a particular side. It's a super pain in the ass. So I made some of those. I made 5 of those, one for each type of thing. We got these 3 things and the silicon base and the finished product. And that's just because I find it easier to make these than to automate the insertion and removal of this calculation press. So basically, each one of these things that you get from the meteorites, the chests of the meteorites, control making a different one of these, including the silicon ones that makes this out of silicon. And I find it's easier to just have the 4 different ones for the calculation, engineering, circuit, and silicon, and then another one, a 5th one, to do these kinds of recipes where you're making the final product by adding redstone and combining one of these 3 with the silicon ones. So that's why I make 5 of these. I just find it much easier to automate them. And then the other thing I wanted to say about that was what? I don't remember. But anyway, these are required for a lot of the things that we're going to need to be making our Emmy system. So like the crafting terminal and crafting units and etc. So that's why you got to make all this garbage first. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that silicon, this is one of those weird things that every mod pack I go into, I got to figure out how to freaking make silicon the easiest way. And in this one, I had to make another machine. The manufactory is probably the easiest way because it allows you to, let's go. It allows you to basically just turn sand into silicon. And so that's much easier than some of the other routes. Like, I think there are other recipes. This recipe, smelting crushed quartz and Certus quartz. So you don't want to use up a ton of nether quartz and a ton of Certus crystals to make silicon by smelting that dust. That's a pain in the butt. So this is a nuclear craft manufactory. It's definitely something I would make to get into your Emmy system. And if you look at it, it's just 4 lead, some copper and some iron, a couple flint, and a piston. It's not hard at all. You don't need any of the nuclear craft, boron or lithium or any of the specialty nuclear craft ores or anything fancy for it. So it was actually pretty easy to make, and it's a pretty good machine. It's a power thirsty machine, so you'll probably won't be wanting to power it with coal, but it gets the job done. So we got 5 of those, so we're ready to make all of these things, which will allow us to make other things. But here I sort of decided to stop and make myself a place. So here's the power floor, and this green floor was going to be for agriculture, but I sort of need to get an inventory system, so I decided to go ahead and turn this floor. Now we're down at Y71, so we're down near like getting towards the bottom of the little plateau that I live on. So now we're going to make this into our, this will be our sort of applied energistics area. It's got a really tall ceiling because I think I'm going to build my auto crafting stuff up. And so this right up there, I sort of didn't plan this well, but I just sort of went with it because what the heck, this room, this line of this room is there. But I couldn't just extend this room that way and make a nice tall ceiling because I'd bump into my smelter. I'd bump into the floor of my smelter. So anyway, bottom line is we're going to have what my Emmy system for cabling. I want it close to all of my automated machines. So I'm going to basically fill these 3 chunks with all of the automated machines for auto crafting. And then this chunk will have my Emmy system and storage and all that garbage. And then we will send a cable up there to sort of the main floor of my base. So we'll have cables coming up here so I can turn all of this mess into sort of more organized crafting area with Emmy access. Great, more spiders. In between episodes, I turned my hostile mobs sound back up. Since I was running around, I wanted to be able to hear them coming. But it isn't actually great for when you're trying to film a video and you've got spiders making noises. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put like, we need to make, do I not have it listed? So our next step here is controllers. So I've made the crystal growth chamber, so now I can make some pure flux crystals automatically as opposed to doing it manually by tossing things in puddles. I've made my inscribers so I can make an engineering processor. So now we're going to make an Emmy Controller, and I might go ahead and make 3 of them just to give myself more faces, more cube faces to work with. So this is the next goal. So I think what I'll do is I'll pause here and I'll do some more crafting and we'll start setting this up. So we're going to set, we'll probably end up setting the controller up sort of in the middle of the room, and then we'll be able to run cables in all directions. Like we'll run some cables, a bunch of cables over here. So each cube face side of one of those controllers will accept 32 inputs. So basically, we'll send one cable for 32 things over here. We'll send one cable for 32 things through the floor over here, and one cable for 32 things through the floor over here, etc. One up the wall, and then probably one down to the floor below us. And we'll try to keep all of the stuff that we want to automate and have hooked up to our Emmy system either above this chunk or in these 3 chunks or below this chunk. Just to sort of keep our cable routing somewhat under control. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to do some more crafting, and we'll do some get into some setting up of the ME system, at least get the rudimentary beginnings done. So we're going to need controllers, we're going to need drive, at least one to start, and then we're going to need storage. So usually people go with something along the lines of 4K ME storage cells. You sort of need to balance. Them to hold plenty of different things, but then a large quantity of each individual thing. I find in large mod packs that I actually prefer going one step higher. So it's like 1K, 4K, 16K, 64K. I might go with 16K just because, well, at least some of them on 16K. So that's going to involve, what is that going to involve? An awful lot of iron, probably. And, yeah, I can do all that. So we're going to need an ME drive. An ME drive holds, what is it? I think it holds 10 storage. So then we'll need 10 of these storage cells, which means we'll need, the storage cell is basically some quartz and redstone and iron around a storage component. And then so we'll need a bunch of storage components. Which is going to be a lot more quartz. May not have the quartz to do everything I want to do, so I may have to jump back into the nether for a bit and focus on nether quartz. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I'm going to pause and work on that stuff, and then come back. But I did want to say, turn all that off. Let me go ahead and spam a little experience on my co-rail here. So again, I'm just getting experience by crafting up a bunch of these tablets of recall, which I don't actually need, but they're cheap and they're easy ways to level up. So I've changed things over. I decided that I didn't have the stuff I wanted to use scrolls anyway, so I may as well move things over to treasure seekers. Now I have a plus 50% chance to find structures on little mob drops. So these are little cards that look like this that are dropped by undead mobs occasionally. And when you click a soul on them like we just did on those graves, it will give you the location of some sort of village or structure off in the distance, and you can then right click on it to teleport there. So it's sort of cool. And then also a plus 30% chance to find special drops on the undead, just for fun and games. Not sure what that does exactly, but thought I'd give it a try. And then later, when I have some sort of way to farm gas tiers or something, I might change everything back over to scribe for scrolled duration. Pardon me, I have to cough. Okay, but anyway, we were on our way over to the mob farm. So the mob farm is about reaching saturation. I have tons and tons of stuff, more stuff than I will probably ever need. I think the only main thing I'm still looking for there is a master necromancy wand. So let's check our box here. Oh, it hasn't been running because I've been too far away. Yeah, so I cleaned it up. I decided not to leave it on all night because... Let me turn the monster noises back down. Okay, but one thing I did want to say is I've got voids on most of the stuff now because I've just got plenty of stuff. Tens of thousands of lots of stuff. or hundreds of things that I'm not going to need much of. But one of the things that was a pleasant surprise was the ore bags. So I tried some of these out. Let's see, number 2 would be this one. So I wanted to go ahead and show you guys that real quick, in case you're new to this and haven't paid too much attention. Now, an ore bag, not much of a big deal. But when they coming out of your mob farm, let me put my market away. So we've got 5 of 8. We've got 40 of them. So let's just see what we get. Look at all that gold and diamond and iron and lapis, emerald. So some of that got pulled into my cube here. So we've got gold ore and iron ore got pulled in. But you know, we've got some coal. That's cool. We only got 1 of these so far, but let's see. Is there anything special about this? I think there's some reason I want that, but never mind. Anyway, but we got, you know, a lot of lapis, so that's cool. So then I just do this. I've got looting 3 or luck 3 or whatever it's called on my thing, so boom. We've got some of those now. Got a nice little pile of diamonds. Got a nice little pile of emeralds. And last time I got more nether quartz, but that was one of the reasons I ran over there, is because if I don't have enough nether quartz, I have, I think, like probably 700 or so left of these bags. So that's going to be one place I can get these. And redstone. So anyway, I found those ore bags really useful, and I probably would have opened more of them earlier had I realized that they were pretty decent. I was assuming I was going to get more common ore, like, you know, hey, look, it's copper and tin. Alright, so I'm going to pause here. We need to make some of this junk. We need to make ME storage, storage cells and storage to put in them, and then a drive to put the storage cells in. We need to make a controller. We need to make some panels that we can access it with. So we're going to make some of these panels here. We're going to need that. And we'll eventually need a crafting interface and an ME interface and all the good stuff. And if I can, I'm going to go ahead and make a wireless access to it. So that's going to be it. Applied wireless. So we're going to need one of these, which accesses it, and then one of these for us. And then that'll require some of that stuff. We'll need some wireless boosters. Alright. Or actually, we might be able to go straight to infinity. Because we should have a bunch of those cards now. I haven't been in a mod pack where you have the wireless infinity cards have durability, but we have them here. So I've got 124 of these cards. I'll just grab a handful. So I think we can put those in our wireless controller, and then they will burn through durability as we use it. So I might be able to do that instead of worrying about range and etc. Alright, so I'm going to craft a bunch of stuff, and then I'll come back and we can set it up and try and get things moving. Be right back. And I think I'll pop in and out of crafting to just show you any of the interesting bits real quick. So one thing we need is for our Emmy controllers, we need pure Flux crystals. And so for that, you can take a drop a Flux seed made from Flux dust and sand into a puddle of water. So basically we did not do that. We just ground up a Flux crystal in our pulverizer to get Flux seeds, or to get Flux dust, and then we just crafted sand and dust together here. So now we've got Flux seeds. And this is the power of the crystal growth chamber. We're going to see this go, and it's much faster. So it's going when you put speed upgrades in here, the 3 speed upgrades, this gets really fast. And of course we have our time in a bottle, so we can go dunk, 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 and boom, done. Alright, so that's our pure Flux crystals, and let's see. For this, we'll make one of these. Show you how that goes real quick. So we're going to need, I've already got one of these. Going to need one of those and one of those. We're going to need, what is it, the engineering? I always get these mixed up. The different flavors. Engineering, yes. Alright, so we need one of these. So we'll go doink, doink. And it's going. And boom. And I'll set up 4 of these and automate, or I'll set up all 5 of these and automate them once I get everything set, because I got to figure out where I want to put them. Alright, so we got one of those. And then the skystone blocks are just smelting skystone, so we already got some of that over here. And so now how many of these do I want? I can probably get away with 1. It's probably safer having 2. I sort of like having 3 though. Like I said, you can only have basically 32 devices off of each side of the cube. So you can put the cube up in the air, and you can have like power and various other stuff off of one, and then you can send the other 5 sides in 5 different directions to have 32 devices on each line. I think I'm going to make one more of these. I already have the Flux crystals for it. So let's go ahead and get one more of these and one more diamond. And I can add a 3rd later if I need it, which I almost definitely will not. I probably won't need 2, but I'd rather, while I'm getting set up here, I'd rather go ahead and take the time, and all it is an extra diamond here, so it's not that big of a deal really in the grand scheme of things. So that's some of that. Where's redstone? You can tell my inventory is getting out of control because I now have little satellite inventories everywhere. Not cool. Alright, so what did we need? We need, we got everything we need there? I think so. Alright, so we got that going. And then we need ME drives. We're going to need 2 more of those. And there's nothing too exciting here. I've shown you how to make pure crystals. I've shown you how to make, our circuits through the Inscriber. So that's pretty much all the tricky and interesting stuff here. So I'm just going to bash through all of this. This is just, I'm probably going to make a handful of these and make memory and whatnot. That's all just normal standard crafting. So I'm going to pause again here. Another reason I wanted to come in though is because I forgot to mention on the Flux network, you can also do wireless charging. Um, and so how you do that is, so if we go to my SpinNet network, so that's outgoing power for me. It's just the way I do it. This, for some reason, main inventory wireless charging is disabled. I think that might be a config thing because I try and enable it and then come back and it's not. So I think that must be a config thing. But you basically got different areas that you can click on and off. So it'll attempt to charge your right hand, your left hand, your hotbar, your armor, and your bobble slots. And I just turned them all on and enabled wireless charging. And what that does is that pretty much my Enderbow and my, you can see the power on them is, where's the power? Yeah, I think there's just too much garbage there on my big UI. But see here, we're at 2.5 million out of 2.5 million. Just everything gets automatically recharged. So all of my, whenever I have my flux magnet or my building gadgets or my scanner. So my scanner is at 4,700 out of 5,000 because I haven't had it out of my backpack since I put on wireless charging. But if we take that out and put it here and then exit, it should, oh, not main inventory. We got to put it on the bar. Boom, and it just immediately. As soon as I put it in my hand, or one of the places that are done, it just automatically gets charged. So that is pretty darn cool, unless you have things that you don't want to charge because you're low on power somewhere. So wireless, just basically you just come here, click on the slots that you want to have powered, and then enable and hit apply. Now I like to do that here, just control that here from my controller, but I think you can also fiddle around with it here. You can see that this flux point also reports it. So I don't know that you actually absolutely need to have the controller. It's just good to do for me, and it's just good to keep track of things by doing it here. All right, I'm going to pause and I'm going to finish doing the crafting for our Emmy junk. Be back in a moment. Okay, so I've crafted some of the stuff and am in the process of setting things up just to make sure I know where I want to put things. So I've got my energy acceptor here, which is going to power or convert power for my ME network. I decided to put the controllers here, sort of in the center of the room and up in the air, so I can have access to as many sides as possible. I always like having a buffer between whatever power I'm doing and my ME system, so that, let's say I break my power or I break my flux network, I'm going to have a big old battery sitting right here that will keep my ME system running for a long time while I'm figuring things out. So what you can see here, if we look at the top left, it is powering up and powering up reasonably quick. If we click on here, we can see that this flux point is taking 1000 RF per tick out. So that must be the max acceptance rate. Yeah, 1000 RF per tick input. And I just sort of wanted to show you this stuff again. That means that this should have plus 1000 RF per tick. That's going into the SpinNet ether, which my point downstairs is taking it out. And then if we look on here, this is now minus 1000 from store it. And that 1000 is going in here to keep this cell topped up. And if we go down to our power down here, this one is plus 1000 RF per tick. So the bottom line is, I know for sure that this whole array of thermoelectric generators is making at least 1000 RF per tick, which I already know. I think it's closer up to like 20,000 or so. But anyway, so that's just another illustration of the Flux networks. So this is plugging into the SpinNet network 1000 RF per tick. And then that's going out of the store network. So downstairs is into it from my thermoelectric generators, out of it into this spadage, and now we're going into the spend it one, and then out of that down in our Emmy system. And that's how much, well, this is 1000 per tick, so it doesn't really give us a gauge for how much my thermoelectric is doing. But you can see that that's filling up nicely. Oh, and this is only 6 million RF. I did go ahead and these are cheap and easy to make, and I had the stuff for them. So we're going to go ahead and update it a couple times. So this now has holding 4 on it because that was also cheap and easy. It was right there on my crafting table. When you go to your crafting table with one of these, it's either probably going to be soul bound or holding 4 as your 30 level enchant. And I was lucky enough that it was holding 4. Sometimes you have to cycle like, wooden shovels or something through your enchantment table until it turns to holding 4 for your stuff. But now we can hold 54 million. So that is cool. So that's going to be our power. We're going to run a cable from there down to here. We'll go ahead and run a 32 banger, a 32 channel big cord down to here, and then we'll branch off of that and we'll put like a few other little things down here right at ground area. We'll have things like our security terminal for doing wireless. We'll have our wireless access. We'll have a few other things right here in the ground in the middle. And then we're going to actually send all of our storage and auto crafting up. So we will branch off and then go up in columns. I think that'll be sort of an interesting design. I haven't done that before, but I thought it might be sort of fun. Let's see. Let's run back upstairs. I think I started making some cables for the quests. So ME dense covered cable Flux. Oh, I haven't made them white yet. I can do that after the episode. Just want to make sure everything lights up right. Doink, doink. And we lit up. So this is one of the big old 32 channel ones, and we're going to turn these into smart ones and etc. and make it a bit fancier, but that at least shows me that things are powering up. Alright, I'm going to go back to crafting. I still need to make our drives and our storage cells and our storage so that we can put stuff on there, and then some panels and whatnot to access it all. And then we're going to have to set up another thing that will go down here at ground level is we want an import bus and an ender chest so that we can throw things in the ender chest to get imported into our system, things like that. So I'll be back in a moment when I've got some more progress. Oh, and I should mention that now that I've upgraded this, it'll do 9,000 RF per tick. So we can see that we are stuffing 9,000 RF per tick into it. So now let's go upstairs and I want to get a feel for what this is doing. So this is outputting 1728 RF per tick. So that's less than I thought. Would that mean that all of this stuff is doing 1728? Let's see, I think they're probably doing... I guess that's right. Well, it's much less than the 20,000 I thought. I'll have to double check that. I'm not exactly sure what these are doing with these. They're probably doing, I think they usually do maybe around 40 each, and I got 50 of them. So that would be around 2,000. So I guess that's not too far off. For some reason I thought they were doing a lot more because I thought they were filling this thing up a lot faster than I thought. Yeah, they're only doing 1728 RF per tick. Unless there's any kind of throttling on my cable. So the flux points are transferring can transfer a lot. That can transfer 800,000, so that's not a problem. Energy conduits should be able to do considerably more than 1728. Yeah, they'll do 20,480. So I shouldn't be throttled anywhere. I think I've got everything wired up right. Alright, so that gives me a good feel for here. That's less than I thought, so I might have to double check, see if there's some sort of probe I can use to tell how much these things are making more definitively. But 1728 ain't bad for early power. We'll get into something a bit more complicated in a bit. And the bottom line is this one is now filled up with 54 million. And this one is filling back up. So it's at 19 million. So we're doing pretty good. I think most of these machines only use like, I don't know, anywhere from like 100 to a couple hundred maybe RF per tick. We'll have to keep an eye. I want to get some garden cloches going. Those could be spendy. And we'll want to do a few other things, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. We might have to get some more power going. We're going to go hit the beneath here real soon. Maybe next episode, real soon, to get some osmium, and then we can make some more power generation. And it'll be easier. We can do some like solar stuff. We can experiment with some solar stuff and put it outside, because now we have wireless networks, so it's really easy to just slap flux plugs on stuff, so we can send some solar stuff or some wind stuff outside. We can put some sort of ethylene mechanism thing down in the basement, slap a plug on it. So our power can pretty much go anywhere now. Alright, I'm going to go back to making our Emmy drives and storage and whatnot. Be right back. Okay, so I moved my stuff down here. We're going to arrange this slightly different once I get going, but for right now, now that I've got advanced inscribers, I want to go ahead and make some, bust out some decent quantities of these, since I'm going to need a bunch. Accelerate the snot out of it and away it goes. So I got 32 of those and 32 of those. Let's go ahead and whip out a bunch of these. And we'll get this all automated and stuff soon, but there we go. That's helpful. Alright. We'll get back. I just wanted to show you why I do the advanced inscriber, because it'll take stacks. The annoying thing about the inscriber, so you can only put one of each thing in at a time, so you're constantly loading and unloading it. Whereas this bad boy, you can just slap a stack in there, tick accelerate it, and away you go. I'll be back in a moment. Alright, it's never too early to start getting into some good cable management and space saving. So we're going to go ahead and doink. We're going to go ahead and bury this. So we should never need to deal with this again. We got a nice huge buffer for our Emmy system, and we got our spend it down here. So now we should be able to wall that up, and doink, we got power to our Emmy system and should never have to worry about it again. And I've made a couple drives, and I think I'm going to have the drives come off the back side. I need to play around a bit with my cabling, but just for me to get a feel for what I'm doing. I think what I'm going to do is, so we'll have that and that. Maybe we'll come out here. And let's see. Yeah, maybe we'll do something like that. We'll just run a line of drives back here. I don't know how many we're going to need, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If I need too much more than that, I've done something horribly wrong. This cable, this side here will hold 32, and we're going to have like 4 or 5 things here, some terminals, etc. So that's going to leave us easily 20 or so to go to drives. So that'll all come off of this face of this, leaving us all the other faces for storage and other junk and traveling to all the other areas. I gotta think about this some more because probably be better. Well, let's see. So I gotta run basically cabling to a bunch of machines in these 3 areas. I can either run that cable down through the floor or up through the ceiling. So maybe what I'll do is just run it up into this ceiling area. I got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I got plenty of room to run it into this ceiling and then run it around, so that's pretty good. I might raise these up. I might raise these up to be 1 taller so that I can go right into there. Mark that so I don't forget about it. So I might raise these 2 controllers up 1 more or so. And then I can run cables. I can run stuff down into here and then spread it, tee it out into these other areas. And then I can do ME drops down to all of the machines that are going to be all over the place here. That'll probably work. Alright, I got to make some storage for our drives and an import bus and an inner chest and some more stuff. I'll be back in a moment. Alright, so it turns out I don't have a ton of Certus quartz. I've been mining it when I see it, but there's just not a ton of it in the overworld. We're going to need to do some mining in the Twilight Forest probably to get a good chunk of it. Now you do have the options here when you're creating your storage of using Certus quartz, charged Certus quartz, or pure Certus quartz. You definitely want to go with the pure Certus quartz. So that's that process of basically you want to make a Certus quartz seed by taking your Certus quartz, putting it through some sort of grinding procedure to turn it into dust. And I need to probably start silk touching. No, we'll see. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and make a bunch of dust. So I do have some dust that was byproducts. But we're going to need a whole bunch of this. Didn't want to jack it all the way up to 6 tick acceleration ticks because we would just chunk out on power. I need to upgrade this guy more so it can accept more power. So we're going to grind these up and I'll just let it finish, but then we're going to do the whole mix it with sand. Cut it with sand to give us more of it. Oops. I just sort of wanted to show you guys the whole crystal growing process. Oops, too far. So I got my AE stuff crystal growth chamber here. And we're going to just go, and you don't need to spread these out. It'll do stacks just as fast. I just like it because it looks cool. That one we can crank all the way up, and boom, pure Certus quartz. Much easier than dropping it in a puddle. But we're going to need, if I want to do, let's say I want to fill each of these 10 bangers ME drives with 4K storage. That's going to be 40 of them. 40 of these is going to require a couple stacks of iron, a couple stacks of dust, some quartz glass, so you got to make sure you have some nether quartz. I've been digging a lot of that up, so I should have enough for that. The 4K itself, this is made with one pure Certus quartz, so we got one from that, and then each of it has 3 of these, so that's another. So basically each 4K one is going to cost us 5 pure Certus quartz. So 40 times 5 is a couple hundred, but we are doubling our Certus quartz by turning it into seeds and growing it. So we should have enough of that. That means we need about 100 Certus quartz, which I have that, so we should be good to go. So I'll be back in a second when I have our storage made. So to tell you sort of what the limits are. You need Certus quartz, then you got to double it into pure Certus quartz to stretch it out or to make the calculation processors which require pure Certus quartz. For the rest of this, you could use normal Certus quartz, but stretching it out with sand, going through seeds and growing it will double it, so I'll get you more mileage. And then that's sort of constraint on building lots of storage and other quartz for the fused quartz glass and a couple stacks of iron. So we're going to bust out some more of this, and I'll be back when I have my memory made. Alright, I think we've got the basics that we need for now. So I've made some ender chests. I'm going to have one up here that I'm just going to throw stuff in, and we'll move it around as necessary. And got another one for downstairs. We're going to put an import bus on that. Don't I have another one? Oh, maybe I already set it down there. Also made an ender pouch, so this makes it so that anywhere in the world I can huck stuff into my Emmy system. So with these, you notice they got the little white things here. To tune them to your box, you just shift right click. Is that right? Yeah. So now it's white, purple, white, sort of Flux colors. So now, go down here. We got this guy. We're going to change its channel by clicking on that button with a purple dye. So now, let's go ahead and do the import bus. So grab one more of these. This is not going to be the final configuration. This is just slapping everything together to make sure it works. One of that. Oops. And some of that. And then I forgot to make these into acceleration cards. Do I have enough crystals? No. So we need to make... I need 4 more pure Flux crystals. Well, you'll get the point here. We'll do it on unaccelerated. The idea here is that things will go into this from all over the world, either from my inventory or from other boxes like this around the various dimensions, and then this import bus with maxed out acceleration cards will suck it straight into our Emmy system. So what do we want to do for our maiden thing? What's the sort of symbolic first thing to put in there? How about a chest? That seems appropriate. So what we're going to do for our first Emmy system thing is we're going to put a chest in our ender pouch. It'll disappear into this ender chest, and it'll get sucked up through the import bus, and boom! We have digitized our storage. Yay. And so now we can do all the things. We can do things like that. And here you can see why I want the acceleration storage, or the acceleration cards for our import bus. So we will get that going. But we are in business. We have ME storage. So now between So I've got 20 drives of 4x storage. This is a reminder for how that works. If we mouse over this, it will hold 63 types of things. So like, stone would be a type, and stone bricks would be another type, etc. And of each of those types, it'll hold up to 4,096 of them. So to keep our ME system from being a bloated, nasty mess in these early days when we don't have unlimited Certus quartz, we want to avoid putting one-offs in there. If we've got one of something, let's just leave it in a crate somewhere, so that we aren't using up our types too much, because we've only got 63 times 20 types. And then if we have anything where we've got more than 4,096 of them, like say, cobblestone, if we have 10,000 cobblestone in there, if we put in 10,000 cobblestone, it's going to use up 3 types on a storage cell, 4,096 per type. So we want to avoid putting anything over 4,000 in there. There are other ways to handle stuff that we have lots of, like drawers, and then hooking the drawers up as an auxiliary storage point. But there you go. We've got stuff in there. And this is all stuff that I'm going to want, a handful of, and I'm going to want to use in auto crafting. So there's no one-offs in here, and there's nothing that I'm going to have thousands and thousands of, except maybe obsidian if I get something, an igneous extruder or whatever. I forget what makes obsidian, but there you go. We have an ME system. So between this episode and next, I need to change up our cabling here, make it prettier and more appropriate. I'm going to raise these two up a couple blocks so that I can shoot cables easily straight from these across into the roof here, so that I can have drops down for little stations, little cells of automated machines, crafting machines over here. Going to set up an automated thing here where we can pull this guy out and make all 5 of them, and make a little a cell where we automate all of these doohickeys, because we're going to need a lot of them as we expand our system. Yeah, I got 4 drives. I don't have enough Certus quartz to fill all 4 yet, but if we look here, where did this start? All right. Oh, that's right. I messed up my priorities. Not that it matters that much, but I usually just to keep an eye on storage, I usually start at 0 and then go minus 10, minus 20, minus 30, minus 40 as I use them up, just to sort of know where things are going to be plopping. And I've messed that up a little, but it doesn't matter. We're going to fill up these first 2 pretty quick. You can see this is where everything went first. So we've already used up 17 types. So if we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we've already used up our 17 types. And so we're going to burn through, that is 17 of 63, and we've got 20 times 63, so that's like, 1,200 and some odd? So 17 of 1,200 and some odd. So we're going to need more of this stuff, but we are very soon going to be headed towards Twilight Forest, which I hear has better Certus quartz. The beneath has lots, 0.06%, all over the place. What else do we got? Oh, you get a lot in the nuclear craft wasteland. So early on, I accidentally wandered through a nuclear craft wasteland, not realizing. Actually, I don't know what that is. Is that like a biome, or is that its like own dimension? And if it's its own dimension, where do you get to it? Does crossing into an overworld wasteland biome count as its own dimension? I don't know what that means. I'll have to look into that. The overworld 0.07, I guess it's like not too much better than the beneath. Atlantis, Twilight Forest is 0.06, so I guess it's not that great. So we don't have great Certus quartz anywhere, so we might want to set up a laser for it once we get into industrial engineering. Could look here and see if this is too hard. We're going to need to do is get into plastic, which we can do as soon as I get off my butt and do it. Basically, we need to make some of these latex processing units and some fluid extractors, tree fluid extractors. I should have set these up already. This is lazy of me. These are super easy to set up, and basically we've got tons of wood. So they will extract liquid latex from logs, and different logs have different rates. But we have almost 25,000 rubber wood logs. So what we can do is I think I was also waiting for, I wanted to be able to make a block placer to automate it a bit. So let's see, block placer. Yeah, I want one of these guys too. Oh, and that requires plastic. That's right. So I can't automate all of that plastic production until I make 4 plastic. So I got to set up some manual stuff, watch it for a while. Once we have 4 plastic, I can automate it. So we got to get that running. All right, but anyway, I think we're out of time. So we have an ME system, so that is wonderful, and we can now do wonderful things like, I got lots of one-offs in there, so I probably don't want to dump that in there. But we can... this is a good one to do it too. I want all of this stuff in there. So we can just start putting all of this stuff in there. Now I do have a mob farm thing with like tens of thousands of bones in it, so we're not going to put all of our bones in there, but we want a few bones in there for auto crafting purposes. Got some gas tiers. And a lot of this stuff, even if it's small numbers, I need to be able to find it and auto craft with it. So I'm not going to be that shy about putting stuff in there. Got to go get those acceleration cards going, so this will empty real quick. So that's my goal for now. I'm going to make us some more pure Flux crystals. I'm going to make the 4 acceleration cards. I'm going to put those 4 acceleration cards on our import bus here, so that we can empty this a lot faster, and then I'm going to just start dumping everything that I want to dump into our Emmy system. And that will make me happy, and we'll see where we're at. You can see we're like already getting stuff in there. And then I'll see where I'm at when I dump everything we have in there. I'll see where we're at on storage, and that will give me my next priorities. Yeah, beautiful. All right, we're over time probably, so I'm going to call it here. But we have the rudiments of a Emmy system for inventory. So in between this episode and next, I might also just arrange things and get a start on some auto crafting. So at the beginning of next episode, I'll show you our final form for all of this junk. I need to change these cables around and organize things the way I like them. And then we'll run some cable up there, and then we'll put turn this into sort of a tree, and we'll run off some branches for auto crafting. I don't have the materials to make a lot of auto crafting infrastructure right now, but I want to make at least your bare bones just so you can see where I'm going with it, and then I'll continue to build it out off camera as I get the materials I need. Mostly, I think probably Certus quartz is going to be a hold up for me until I find a better way to get lots of it. Until next time, see you later. Bye.